Hi everybody, welcome to the Manifold channel. We're going to have some fun today, and we're going to take a look at the hardware that we actually use behind many of the videos that you see on this channel. We do a lot of comparison videos involving a Threadripper machine, and you're looking at that machine. It's the real live one that's used in all those comparison videos. What it has is a second generation 24-core AMD Threadripper that generates 48 threads. It's run at 48 threads, and it has, you can see the colorful sticks lighting up, 64 gigabytes of RAM. I forget what the GPU is, but it's some kind of a, I don't know, about a 1500 core GPU from NVIDIA. And it's got, like most of the enthusiast machines that are built these days, tons and tons of LEDs and liquid cooling, of course. You can see on the top there's three Noctua fans. On the left there's another case exhaust fan, and on the right there's a CPU cooler which has three 120 millimeter fans to cool the CPU. It's a fairly pricey system, even for a budget system. And we're going to compare that in a series of videos right now to this little guy down here. And I thought I'd put them together on the same bench so that you could see the scale. And this little guy right there is a tiny itty-bitty mini-ITX card. You can see how incredibly small it is by the size of the Dr. Pepper can on the left. We're filming this in Europe, and it's not so easy to find a U.S. standard cola can, but there it is. It's a standard 12-ounce can, so you can get a feel for the size of it. And in the background, you can see a European standard, French standard, 330 milliliter Perrier bottle. And then also for size, you can see the pen at the bottom, which is pretty much a universal standard everywhere in the world. This particular motherboard is, let's see, it's a Gigabyte Aorus Pro Wi-Fi B450 motherboard. So it's not a, it's actually a kind of a budget board. It's a discount board. It uses the 450 chipset from AMD. It doesn't use a 570. And the CPU that we have on it is just the Ryzen 3. Now it's a pretty cool Ryzen 3, as Ryzen 3s go. It's a Ryzen 3 4300 GE, which is an excellent processor. It has 8 cores to it. Excuse me, it has 4 cores to it, which means you can run 8 threads. And the G stands for graphics, so it's got a built-in Radeon graphics engine on board, which has lots and lots of Radeon cores. Those aren't used for computation, but it does mean it's extremely fast for rendering, 3D rendering or anything else. You can easily render 4K games. And the E in the name means it's energy efficient. So instead of running at 65 watts like most Ryzen 3s and Ryzen 5s run, it only takes 35 watts. So it's a wonderfully low-power processor, and it means you can cool it with a relatively simple cooler. We're using a Noctua NH L9A AM4 cooler, which is only about 36 millimeters high, so it easily fits into a very, very low-profile case, as you can see. This particular motherboard has got 16 gigabytes of RAM on it. We could have just as easily put 32 gigabytes of RAM on it. You have to use reasonably low-profile RAM sticks so that your power adapters and everything else will fit, and that'll fit into a low-power case. But that's easily done. And this one also has, as you can see in red there, a M2 SSD card, which is a 1 terabyte card. We could have easily put a 2 terabyte card into it, and that's the rig. With a rig like this, it only takes about 100 watts, so you can easily power this with a 120 watt 12-volt plug-in power supply, the sort that you use for a laptop, and that makes a rig like this extremely transportable. It's very easy to carry around because when you put it into a low-profile case, this motherboard inside the case is actually smaller than most hardcover books. It's that small, as you can see from the size of the pen, and you can see from the wireless mouse to the right. That's a Microsoft mouse. To get an idea of additional scale, what you see on the right is basically how this rig travels. That's a USB-powered flat panel, so it just plugs into the computer, and it's powered by USB. It's only a 13-inch display, but it's a nice high-resolution display. And the keyboard is a 60% and Pro 2 keyboard. By 60%, that means it's 60% of the size of a standard keyboard. But if you fill that with keys, you end up getting full-size keys. It's mechanical. Gamers love this thing. And the Microsoft mouse is a wireless mouse. It's slightly smaller than a standard mouse, but still, it's a pretty good rig. If you want to see the comparison to a full-size keyboard, on top of the computers in the background is a Microsoft Natural keyboard. That's a full-size Natural keyboard, so you can see how enormous that keyboard looks and how tiny the computer looks in comparison. By the way, if you're curious what those two black boxes are underneath the Microsoft keyboard, those are the computers that are standard computers at Manifold. Those are Manifold E boxes. the E-boxes have 3 fans to them, and Manifold builds standard E-boxes because they're constantly upgrading motherboards. They're constantly upgrading GPU cards. So these have to, the boxes need a lot of ventilation to be able to run with a lot of GPUs in them. And what the E-box is designed to do, it's designed to host a full-size motherboard with a 1,500 watt power supply and 4 double-wide GPU cards, and still fit into a box that is no larger than will fit into carry-on luggage. So you can load one of these boxes with like a, if you wanted a 64-core, Threadripper, so to have 128 CPU cores, and then you could have like 12,000 or so GPU cores in the form of 4 GPU boxes, and you could still carry it on board. Now you probably have to fly business class or first class because the weight is higher than they allow these days for economy class. But if you have a generous airline that gives you a few extra kilos in your on your carry-on luggage, it'll easily fit into an international standard carry-on bag. So that's a hardware. And by the way, one of those is an E-box like that is if you've ever seen in the videos Manifold comparing the Threadripper to a 12-core Ryzen. The 12-core Ryzen lives in a box like that E-box. They're all over Manifold. There you go. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick little video to see what this is like. Keep in mind how incredibly tiny this little mini-ITX box is. And what you're going to see in the series of upcoming videos is that Manifold running on this little, tiny, inexpensive, incredibly portable mini-ITX Ryzen 3 absolutely crushes ArcGIS Pro or any other software, any other GIS software running on this monster machine here that generates 48 threads and has all kinds of RAM and other sorts of stuff. So that's the comparisons that we're setting up. Keep in mind, it's a Goliath on the left and David here on the right, and which one is going to be faster. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the shootouts between the two, between David and Goliath. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.